Hello everyone, my name is Loco, and welcome to some more StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. Today I'm playing a Protoss versus Zerg for you, and this time around it's going to be played on, I don't know what this map is called, the Frozen Temple. I was gonna say that, I wasn't really sure. Either way, this is a map where it is very difficult for a Protoss player to take a third base. If you have a quick look at the map layout, you have the natural that's easily defendable, right? You have this nice little ramp right here that you can quite easily take. However, the third is very far away. In a lot of scenarios on this particular map, the Zerg players will start trying to hard counter Protoss players because oftentimes there is gonna be some sort of 1 or 2 base all-in happening. Now, sadly, because of the map design, I don't really have much of a choice. I could obviously go really cheesy, not really my type of playstyle. So I'm gonna focus on trying to execute the strongest 2 base all-in that I can. Obviously, we're still playing against people that are in Master League as well, so that's one thing to keep in mind here, because that may very well mean that my opponent is gonna have a great time. But because of like maps like this, I am not the biggest fan of the current map pool. There is some definite hard maps out there, in particular for Terran Protoss. I mean, I can't really take my third over here, can't really take it over here and defend both the third and the natural. It's very difficult. Either way though, very shortly we're gonna go ahead and make the expansion. First off, I'll put down the Cyber Core since we are up against Zerg. So there we go. Putting out that thing immediately. And very shortly, I will be putting up the Nexus in the natural. Now, I'm not rushing out any Zealots here, using the probe here for scouting instead. Trying to figure out what the Protoss is going for. Looks like he's made his own expansion a little bit later than is usual. So we may very well have to go for a Zealot in a bit. Although, he's only just now starting up Zergling speed. You could see that little bouncy difference. So it wasn't too scary. You know what? We're just gonna bother with, we're not gonna bother with really defending against any kind of early game aggression if it's not gonna come, right? So I'll just make sure I get my own Adept out. And I'm also gonna start up my Mothership Core, which should together, you know, be able to defend against everything and anything. So there we go. Gonna add on the second gas here as well. And once I have 25 gas, which I have right now, gonna be starting up the Adept. Now, it looks like my opponent is attacking me with a probe, which either is to distract me or, you know, he's just simply trying to get that that advantage there. Question is, what kind of 2 base all-in do we want to go for? That's kind of the thing, right? Oh man, he actually did get it just now. As well played by him. What kind of 2 base all-in do we want to be going for? That's kind of the scary part. Oh. No way. I didn't think he would be able to pull that off. That was pretty impressive, not gonna lie. Good timing by him. As you can see, like, build orders are timed super strictly. Probably shouldn't have used the photon overcharge there, to be fair, but it's alright. We'll go ahead here and make a Stalker as well to sort of deny scouting, and I think I'm gonna be focusing on Immortals here, because Immortals are a little bit too good to pass up on. Obviously, we'll have to try our very best here to shoo away these guys to the best of our abilities. Just because we do need to make sure that at the very least we have a basic understanding of what's going on. I'm also gonna go ahead and scout here and see if he's taking that base. Which should probably be taken right about right now. Generally speaking, you will see the third go up relatively early. Looks like he's actually got a second Overlord just hanging about as well. I don't know if this one is here on purpose or if he's trying to bait me out. In which case, I'm actually rather impressed by him. We'll go ahead here and add on 2 more gates ourselves. While queuing up the very first Immortal. So I don't really want to risk, obviously, losing this thing. So I'm going to actually bring the Queen, or the Mothership Core here with it. Play too much Zerg, calling that a Queen. Bringing the Mothership Core with it. And we'll have a look here at whether or not my opponent is actually playing greedy. Looks like he's found my probe. It's not over here. Obviously, don't want him to get into my base. Second Immortal already on the way. And I'm gonna put the Queen... Or I'm gonna put the Queen... the Queens! I'm gonna put these units back in there. Alrighty. We'll go ahead for, you know, a bit of a wall off here. Obviously, my opponent playing this aggressive is a little scary, but as long as we don't lose any workers, we should be good. I've got a bunch of gateways here so far. That is 6 gateways. I need 2 more. We need about, you know, about 8 here. So this should be good. Okay. Looks like we'll have to use the Immortal here as well. He's making a lot of early game Zerglings, but since I am not really doing any kind of early game aggression, this is good for me. Obviously, we'll have to start pushing shortly. Haven't really been chrono boosting out very many units here. But this is looking alright. This is looking pretty good, actually. Oh, you can't actually get past? Oh, dang it. I actually blocked in my own thing. That's kind of unfortunate. We'll get a couple more here. Move these guys out of the gas. And we'll start warping in as many adepts here as we can, as well as a couple of sentries. The sentries are super helpful. In the meantime, we're also making sure that I get my... what's it called? The... Alright, well, hold on. Let me try and kill that. We'll also try and get the warp prism out now. And a couple more zealots will never hurt. Get the second gas. Let's get going. Let's get going. Gotta make sure that I've got enough here. He's giving me a lot of overlords so far. That's super nice of him. He's doing a good job of defending so far, but... those force fields definitely do kill all of those things. In the meantime, it looks like my warp prism has already managed to get across the map here with relative ease. So far, the moral of the game has been to just hold on until all different kinds of Zerg aggression. He's throwing all kinds of units at me, which is fine. As long as I defend against all of them, we're gonna be fine. Now, luckily for me, I am going for an adept-heavy route. And adepts are great against units that are light. Guess what units are light? The Hydralisk, exactly. As well as the Zerglings, actually. So this is a great, great fight for me. I'm gonna go ahead here and use a, you know, a time warp as well to our advantage. But like I said, moral of the story is simply hold on to all kinds of Zerg aggression and we should be good to go. Alrighty, so here we are in the replay of the game that I just played. Now, a lot of people and a lot of videos and a lot of guides and whatnot will explain how you should go ahead and execute a 2-base all-in build order, right? They'll explain to you how to go for the Immortal play, how to go for the Adept play, and how to, like, do a really aggressive push. The thing is that if you don't play safe early on and you lose a bunch of workers here and there, you're basically guaranteed to lose the match. And there's a couple of things that you gotta try and keep in mind. So I wanted to go really quickly over how to be playing safe against a Zerg player with Protoss, with tips that might be able to, you know, get implemented at least relatively easily. Obviously, a lot of it just comes down to game sense and micro and whatnot, but as a general rule of thumb, there's a couple of things that you gotta keep in mind here. So first and foremost, make sure you always go for a wall off against Zerg. You definitely cannot go ahead and make a pylon right here and make a Gunter Gateways here and try and wall off here. Technically speaking, it's possible, would not recommend it. So always make sure that you wall off with one little gap right there in between. And what happens with this little gap that you see me put up here is that I can put a Zealot right there to sort of like plug that hole, right? That's, you know, the very first thing to keep in mind. Next up, when you put down a Nexus in your natural, immediately also put a pylon in front of it. And the idea for this pylon is that I can go ahead and use the photon overcharge in this entire circle right here and basically shield my Nexus away. Once again, I've lost matches to people that open up 14 gas, 14 pool as Zerg, make a lot of Zerglings, get a lot of Speedlings out, and I'm not able to, you know, defend the Nexus because I put up the pylon right here. So first pylon, use it to wall off the ramp. Second pylon, use it to defend the natural. Third pylon, have a pylon behind your mineral line. Now, the mineral line, what I'm talking about here, is going to be in the main base. Technically speaking, you could get this one a little bit later, but the idea behind this one is just in case he does go for the run by, or just in case he does go for Mutas, you got a pylon right here that will cover the entirety of the mineral line with a photon overcharge. Speaking of which, in order to defend properly with the Mothership Core, it helps a lot if you have it up on a separate hotkey. So in this particular case, I do actually have the Mothership Core on hotkey number 2, whereas the rest of my army is going to be in hotkey 1. I always have a separate hotkey for the Mothership Core, as it is by far the most important unit to be controlling properly as Protoss. So notice, I'm not actually putting my Mothership Core, like, you know, in the main base, and I'm not really putting it in a natural either, right? I'm basically putting it in a place where I can actually defend both of them. I can quite easily float over, and that may seem very insignificant, but let's say my opponent does a Zergling drop right here, and all of a sudden he runs in with the links. If my, Mothership Core is hanging out over here somewhere, or it's hanging out over here somewhere, is where I see a lot of people put it, you're gonna have a very difficult time to defend against that sort of stuff. So as long as you make sure you have the Mothership Core, I don't know, hovering right around this area, you should have a relatively easy time. Next up, make sure that this unit that is sending in the little gap, well, whenever it's necessary in that little gap, make sure that that unit is always and always gonna be on hold position. So I switched it around right there for the Stalker, gonna be moving it back to the Adept because it's much better at holding aggression, but make sure that it's set to, as you can see, the E position right here on my keyboard, maybe H for you, depending on the hotkey setup that you're using. I use Grit myself, but make sure that this unit is on hold position, so any kind of Zerglings that are gonna try and walk by are not gonna just simply get into your base, which is very important. Like all these little things, right here, for example, if those links would have been in my main, I would have lost the game right then and there. So having that unit on hold position, very, very, very crucial. Next up, like I said, make sure you have the Mothership Core protected nicely, and also wall in your own army. Now, in this particular case, I am walling in my entire army. I wasn't actually aware exactly how this works out on this map. Turns out this is actually a full wall. I wasn't really aware of that fact, but so I had to destroy my own gateway. But the idea here is that you try and make sure that these units are not going to be having an easy time reaching your natural. If they easily get into your mineral lines and they pick off a couple of workers here and there, you're going to have a very difficult time. And because of my opponent investing this much into early game economy, and because he's really not getting any, damage out of it, I am actually at the economy advantage while this is going on. And as a Zerg player myself primarily, I know very well that if you are in that situation where the Protoss is on even economy, or let alone like even at a better economy, you gotta make sure you're good to go. Now, same goes for the little run-bys that my opponent goes for right here. I should have actually scouted it, didn't see it in time, kind of bad by me. But make sure you can, you warp in time there. Warping in does actually prevent the run-by, so they are like vulnerable units. And I guess other than that, it's just a matter of micro. So, besides trying to, prevent your opponent from scouting, and besides trying to, do a very powerful timing attack like I'm doing right here with a bunch of Immortals and a bunch of Sentries, you gotta make sure that you're playing safe while that is going on. Now, I guess as a small little tip, always decide what you want to warp in, be it Zealots, be it Stalkers, be it Adepts, be it Sentries even, on what your opponent's army is going to be all about. In general, if you see Roaches, make sure to go for Stalker, Zealot. If you see a bunch of Hydra and Zerglings, make sure to add on Adepts, because those are both light units, and, Adepts are great against light. And basically just be smart about the aggression. Either way though, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you haven't already, hit the like button. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. And I want to thank you all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!